What's up, people? I am back for another video. Sorry I have not done a video all week, but today we are reviewing Karate Kid 2, and I'm still going to do Karate Kid 3 next week. And then the plan is I'm going to go see Working Man tomorrow, and definitely want to review it. It will be obviously spoilers. I mean, it's not going to really much to spoil. It's going to be Jason Statham killing bad guys, so it's not like a lot to spoil there. But I'm going to review Karate Kid. I mean, well, right now, but tomorrow I'm going to be doing Working Man. And then I'm going to watch Novocaine tomorrow, but I'll probably review it on Monday. And then I'm going to Tuesday for sure try to do Karate Kid 3. Tuesday or Wednesday, but I'm going to try it for Tuesday. And then Wednesday, gunning to do In the Badlands, the Batista movie. And then Thursday, Time Cop. And then I'll figure out what to do Friday. Sometime this week, depending on if it goes on the seas, because I don't think I'm going to have time to go to the theater and see it, I do want to see that Death of a Unicorn movie. And then next Friday also, Hell of a Summer comes out. So if I can hopefully get a chance to see that, because I think that's April 4th, so that's this week, I think. So I'm going to try to watch that, and then I get that reviewed. But yeah, that's the plan so far this week. I'm gonna try to at least get most of those videos done, even if I don't do all of them. I want to do some of them. I'm sorry, I've been kind of slacking lately. Just crazy couple weeks, but for sure today and tomorrow, because I do want to review Working Man. So. But today, we are doing Karate Kid 2, the second part of the Karate Kid trilogy, if you just like movies, and then if you include the show. But Karate Kid Part 2, this is one that's an interesting one, because I've seen some people kind of say, and I kind of have to agree, it's very much a spin-off. Like, it's set within the Karate Kid universe. Obviously, it picks up from where the fight ends, right? You see that moment with, for some reason, I don't know why I thought it was in the first one, but it was in this one, where you see Kreese choke out Johnny and attack the kids, and then Miyagi punches him, and then, Johnny Miyagi puts out Kreese. So, I thought for some reason I don't know why I thought that was the first one, but yeah, that was in this one. And I love that opening, but outside of that, the rest of the movie has nothing to do with Cobra Kai or Kreese isn't in it. No, none of that. It's pretty much a spin-off about Miyagi, because I think he's going to see his father. It's because his father's dying, and he has a issue with his brother, who basically. This is where, we meet Sato, who, so basically Sato's whole thing is he wants to goad Miyagi to a fight, so pretty much provokes him throughout the movie. Sato's student, Chozen, who you'll know later in Cobra Kai, I would argue he's much more ruthless than Johnny, because you can make an argument with Johnny, at least there was moments where I would say Daniel goaded him. Chozen goes out of his way to fuck with Daniel. But it also really shows how well this world is if you've expanded by Cobra Kai. You see how far Chozen has gone in forgiveness, and Daniel meets Kumiko, who is Yuki, who I'll just say it's like Miyagi's girlfriend, and her niece, and Daniel gets together with her, and Chozen kind of fucks with him throughout the film. There's a part where Miyagi punches through ice. That was cool. Miyagi showing off his skills a lot in this movie is well done. And the final fight was pretty well done. Like, even though by the end, pretty much Sato, actually makes, there's a moment in the film where, like, think like a typhoon happens, and Daniel and Sato, and Miyagi actually help Sato and help the village. So because of that, like kind of Sato, if essentially kind of turns, and then that's when Chosen like storms off and tries to ruin, and that's where you get that iconic moment in the end, which is a callback to the beginning of the film, where it looks like Miyagi looks like he's about to do this strike to Kreese, but he actually just grabbed his nose. Basically, the same thing happened what Daniel did to Chosen, and yeah, great film. I do think the first one's stronger, but I thought this was a nice, interesting film. Yeah, is it? It's a sequel, but it is kind of a spin-off at the same time. But I also do think we get to learn more about Miyagi. I love the Okinawa setting. Obviously, I love the soundtrack. Fucking Peter Cetera, "Glory of Love," great song, and it fits the movie. Sato's a great character, so is Chosen. Especially now knowing where Chosen ends up in Cobra Kai, it's like even well done. And Kumiko, good love interest. I thought her and Daniel had really good chemistry. I'm trying to think what negatives I really have for the film. I mean, I guess it's missing a lot of those other characters that were from the first one, but the third one kind of is a return to that. So I didn't hate it. It's a spin off, but it is a sequel. I think it still does a good job of picking up where the first one left off. But yeah, once they get to Okinawa, it is kind of a spin off. But I still feel like it plays out like a sequel. You got Daniel still learning, and I'm not gonna lie, I like learning about Miyagi's family, and I thought Sato was a good character. And I think that's the one thing, even back then, I don't know if they were intending on doing that, or maybe that's just how it was written back then. I love how they wrote, like, some of these villains, you want to call them villains, like antagonists, right? How they may start off antagonistic, but eventually, like Sato, they could have just had him be, like, he does some heinous things. Like, he attacks Miyagi's home in the middle of the night. He does everything in his power to basically try to goad Miyagi into a fight. Um, but obviously by the end they come together when the night of the fight they were supposed to fight, a typhoon strikes, and Daniel and not Johnny, Daniel and Miyagi save him, and oh, it's his nephew, and basically yeah, he gets disowned, and that's when Chosen goes crazy in the end. So it's an overall pretty good film. It's my second favorite Karate Kid film. I think it fucking cat. I do really think this is not as good as the first, but I do think it's a perfect follow up. And like I said, this is my second favorite in the ranking for sure, and then it'd be the third. I think the third one's fine. I do think it just goes a bit over the top with some of the villain stuff, even though I do like Silver and Barnes. Those are like my favorite additions of the movie. And Daniel joining Cobra Kai is an interesting story. I mean, it makes sense plot wise. Like, keep in mind, it's not Kreese. It's a different teacher. So, and I do like that aspect. I mean, yeah, they introduced Daniel's sister or stepsister or something like that, who she does come back in the show. So I do like that expansion, and yeah, like I said, you could some have argued it could be kind of the real Karate Kid too, because it does pick up like it's back in the valley. You have Cobra Kai, and you have that story. But I'm fine with this spin-off story, man. I very much like it, and I like the Okinawa setting. I just do. I think it's a nice, interesting setting. I love how many times they go out of town just so we can get to see the work, like the city. And yeah, it's a perfect sequel in my mind. So Karate Kid 2, I would give like, I think I gave the first one like a 9.5 out of 10. I'd give this one like an 8.5, something like that. I really like Karate Kid 2. And like, I mean, I love the soundtrack, and I love the tone of it. And I really love I'm gonna say it again. I love the Okinawa setting. I think it's a really well done setting when done right. Alright, guys. Other than that, let's get into Karate Kid. Subscribe to Pin Down Podcast. We just recorded today. We actually did a nice tier list in the end of the stream where we did a tier list of our favorite themes. So we didn't finish it because It's a pretty big tier list, so we're probably not gonna finish it for a bit. But definitely subscribe for that. Next Saturday should be the next stream. And yeah, but let's get into Karate Kid 2. This came out 2 years later. This was 86. So, and I will say the whole trilogy pretty much finished in the 80s because the last one was 89. So, only like a 2-year gap between this one and the first one. I thought they did a good job of like at least the start of it. Even though it was 2 years later. They definitely try to make it seem like it was the same. Definitely try to make it seem like it was the same night. Because they try to... like, they made it... Even though you could tell it was obviously 2 years ahead. But they still... I mean, I'm going to say it. Ralph Macchio, he's aged very well. Especially then. I mean, even though it's been 2 years, he probably didn't really look like he aged that much. To where it was noticeable. But anyway, let's get into the start of the movie. So pretty much this picks up right where the ending of the first one of the All Valley ending of the 1984 All Valley. And Johnny Kreese attacks Johnny after losing the fight. And this is where they played the scene a couple times a lot in Cobra Kai. Where Kreese chokes him out. And I love that we got to see the exploration of this. And don't get me wrong, the scene still works even if, let's say, Cobra Kai never happened. And it was just this scene. Like, this is the last time we see Johnny and Kreese was this scene. But I'm happy that we did get Cobra Kai because it really, the way they have, explored the scene, especially in the last season, that moment with Daniel, I'll just spoil it for the last season. It's been out for a while. That moment between Johnny and Kreese is so good, where Johnny is kind of just goes off about what Kreese did to him, on this night. So I'm gonna say it again. I'm gonna keep saying I'm gonna wonder how Karate Kid 3 is gonna hit once we see Silver. But watching these movies after the ending of Cobra Kai, it does hit different. Like, where all these characters end up. And I'm not going to say Kreese got full-on redeemed, but we get a little redemption in that moment with him and Johnny. So to go back to this scene, and yeah, it is hard to watch. Kreese just saw him as a failure, and he even attacks, like, the other students. The other students are like, why are you, like, he starts, like, he has Johnny in a headlock, and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? The other kids are trying to stop it, and that's when Miyagi sees, and he stops him, and Miyagi pretty much incapacitates Kreese, and, this is gonna probably be the thumbnail of the video, or where this moment leads to, the moment with Johnny and Daniel and Chozen, which that's gonna be the thumbnail for the video, but where Miyagi acts like he's gonna do some crazy blow, but then he just like grabs him by the nose and just humiliates him, and basically Johnny and the other kids abandon Kreese, and that's the last we see of them. I don't think they come back in 3. Maybe Kreese does, but I definitely know Johnny doesn't. I don't think we see Johnny again literally until Karate Kid 2. I mean, Cobra Kai. Sorry. So then we jump ahead 6 months now. Daniel's in college. Or getting ready for college because Allie broke up with him. Which, I don't know if I love the way they wrote her off. Like, I get they couldn't get her back, but I didn't love that they wrote her back. Like, I don't know. Granted, I think Cobra Kai fixed that, and obviously she comes back and has her little moment with Daniel, and Johnny, honestly, in the show. So at least she kind of got to come back. But yeah, I get it. They couldn't get her back, but just say they broke up and just kind of left it at that. But they had to, like, do the extra. She left him for a football play. I'm like, you need to make her look shitty like that. So Miyagi gets a letter about to return to his home village, and this is where Miyagi tells Daniel about Yuki, about a woman he was supposed to marry, and okay, Sato wasn't his brother. I don't know why I thought it was his brother. His best friend, Sato. And that's when Miyagi left Miyagi left for the country because Sato challenged him to a fight. Then yeah, Daniel travels. Miyagi lets Daniel travel with him to Okinawa, and that's when they're greeted by Chozen, and there's like instant tension. Well, Chozen was nice to respectful for the most part to Miyagi, at least initially, but definitely with Daniel, the moment he shook his hand, like he did the classic shake hands, and he like really clamp your hand down to like to assert dominance. That's what he did. And Sato, Johnny, why do I keep saying Johnny? Chozen takes Daniel and Miyagi to one of Sato's warehouses, and Sato challenges Miyagi to a fight, and Daniel and Miyagi refuses. And this is where they get to the village, and this is where we meet Yuki and Kumiko. And Sato has destroyed the local fish population because of his businesses and stuff, and he basically forces the town people to rent property and all that. And yeah, that's where Yuki reveals her love for Miyagi. They basically get together. I'm not gonna lie, their relationship was kind of like, I know the relationship of the movie in a way kind of is more focused on Daniel and Kumiko, but Yuki and Miyagi is really nice. That moment where they had together, where they like that moment where Miyagi was like, "I wish I took you." Basically acknowledged, "I wish I took you with me to America," and all that. And that's when Kumiko and I jumped ahead of it. So Miyagi's father dies, and Sato says, "I'll give you 3 days, and then I'll come in to challenge you to a fight." And that's when Miyagi starts showing Daniel the Den Daiko, which is basically the Miyagi's karate from his family. Teaching him the drum technique. I love the way they actually, I think that's one of my favorite parts of these movies. It's kind of the same thing with Rocky a little bit. I love the training scenes and the moments where you see Miyagi and are going with Rocky, Mickey, training and being wise. I love those moments. If you're going to stick with Karate Kid, I love the moments where Miyagi's just training Daniel and teaching him. Like, that's what makes Miyagi's, like, Pat Morita really nails it with this character. And and I love how like he has different shades. There's that side of him. Obviously, there's a moment later in the film where he finally accepts the fight. That's when he gets fucking serious. He's ready to kick some ass, but he's also obviously fun. He has his fun moment, and obviously his romantic moment in this film with him and Yuki. So I think that really is well done. Pat Morita is he's like, I would argue, the soul. If you want to call like Ralph Macchio, I'll throw in honestly William Zabka, because I'm including the Cobra Kai stuff. They're like the heart. Miyagi's definitely the soul. Even if Pat Morita died, R.I.P. I still consider him the soul of this world. This particular, because he really is the soul of these movies. He's a big part of why I rewatch him. Obviously, I love Daniel as a character and all that, but a big part of why I love watching these movies is Miyagi. Learning about his history, obviously his past, his past soldiers as a soldier and all that. They don't go too into it, but I think the life he lived and how wise he is, and just his performance too, all around. But then, yeah, Daniel and Kumiko start dating. So Daniel I think this is when he was out with Kumiko. Basically exposes Chozen grocery business, and basically throughout the film, pretty much fucking Chozen just fucks with Daniel. There's a moment he kicks Daniel like at a bridge. He even attacks the family home, like vandalizes Miyagi's property at night. But Miyagi fends him off. I think there's a moment later that like really pushes Miyagi to be like, all right, I finally accept. I think he sends Yuki away because he doesn't want her. I think a couple reasons. Probably didn't want to risk potentially Sato's goons coming for her, but also because I think he didn't want her to see him like that and want to fight Sato. I don't think he wanted her there for that. So So Miguel and Daniel want to leave initially, but Sato threatens basically to destroy the village, and then that's the final. I think that's part of also the final thing that gets Miyagi agree to fight. But basically, if I think the deal is if Miyagi wins, obviously this fight doesn't even end up happening, so it doesn't really matter. Um, that the villages get their villagers get their he relinquishes the village back to the people. So, and then the day of the fight, a typhoon happens, and I think that's the other thing about these movies. The first one too, paced very well. I don't think there's like it's not like a uber fast movie because obviously it's not like a super action movie of that era, but it's also not uber slow. So it has like a nice, reasonable pace, which I like. I love when movies have a decent pace. They're not too fast, but they're not also too slow. It's that nice medium. There's quiet moments in the movie, but there's also moments that happen. Oh, I jumped ahead. There's a scene where Daniel, this is also a while back where Daniel and Kumiko are out, and they see Sato's karate studio, and that's where Daniel wants to see Johnny fight. I don't know why I keep saying Johnny. Chozen fight, and there's a bar, and basically the thing is they're betting money on who can break a slab of ice, and Chozen essentially tries to force Daniel. He kind of forces Daniel to do it because him and his guys goad people to do it, and because people are throwing money. It's one of those things you get pushed into doing, and they're throwing money, you kind of have to do it. But Miyagi decides to do it for him because Kumiko runs to go get. I think she goes to get Yuki and Miyagi slices the ice. That was a cool scene. So Daniel and then Miyagi gives Daniel the money, and then that night another moment where Kumiko and Daniel are hanging, and then Chozen comes and he basically tries to get his money back. And yeah, this is before they vandalize Miyagi's property again. And yeah, so Daniel manages to escape. But yeah, going back to this scene. So typhoon strikes. Satan's dojo collapses. That's where John. I don't know why I think I'm thinking Cobra Kai. I have two Cobra Kai too much on my mind. Daniel and Miyagi see that Sato is under like a wooden panel, and they basically help save Sato, and Daniel decides to save a kid from save a child in a trapped tower, but Chozen refuses because Daniel decides to save the kid, but Chozen refuses to help because Sato tries to order him, and that's when Daniel manages to get the kid. And then pretty much Sato disowns him. And this is kind of when he starts having a new leaf. But obviously, Chozen's pissed off. And yeah. And Sato returns with the work crew to help rebuild the village. So he's kind of going through a new route. And also asks forgiveness from Miyagi. And he does. And he hosts a festival. And there's a big celebration. And then Chozen comes to kind of disrupt it, take Kumiko hostage, forcing Daniel to fight. And the crowd starts doing Miyagi's fight style because initially, yeah, Daniel gets his ass kicked, and I think that's what makes Daniel a great character, at least especially in these movies. He has the hero's journey, right? Even in the second movie, he's trained, but Chozen has obviously. I'll just spoil. Like when we jump ahead into the show, Chozen, arguably in terms of fighting, especially of the main characters, I would damn near say he's probably the best fighter. You can make an argument. He is that dude, especially if you see him in actual fights. And obviously, this is adult, grown man Chozen, so I can only imagine Chozen when he was younger, right? In this moment. He's stronger than Daniel. So he kind of had to have help, basically, to finally defeat Chozen. And Daniel has chosen, and obviously kind of mirroring what Miyagi did earlier with Kreese. He acts like Daniels acts like he's gonna strike Chosen, but then does the nose thing, and then the crowd cheer, and yeah, him and Kumiko embrace. Miyagi kind of like similar to the first one, does that kind of nod and smile, and then the movie ends. They play "Glory of Love" in the credits. I love Karate Kid too. It's a good sequel. Sato's a great character, and I love how he gets redeemed. Like the way they're able to take antagonists and redeem them. Obviously, initially they didn't do that with Kreese, but like Johnny in the first one, because to an extent, I would even argue he sort of gets redeemed in the first one. I mean, he gives Daniel his blessing and respect for beating him, and obviously, what happens earlier in this film, he abandons Cobra Kai. So, they start off as antagonists, but they're not just evil. And it makes sense. This is karate, obviously, right? It's a fighting style. Even Chosen, even though by the end of the film you don't think he's gonna be chosen. They do or redeemed, because they do make it seem like he's just a bad guy. He didn't want to help a little girl and all this, but even he gets redeemed. Daniel forgives him, and he pretty much helps Daniel like with no qualms. When Daniel asks for his help, he has no problem. Like, yeah, I'll help you. No, like, wariness. Like, he's willing to do it. Like, it really shows how far the character's gone. That you're not too far gone in this world. And I really like that. I mean, obviously, Cobra Kai, they have that same theme with the newer characters, where you're not too far gone. Even if you are gone, you're not too far gone. Obviously, there with exceptions like Silver. And initially you'd think Kreese, but even Kreese, obviously, by the last season, and he's not full-on redeemed. And he's not, like, obviously, because he didn't really make up with Daniel. He made up with Johnny. So he's not full-on redeemed, obviously, to everyone else. But he gets a redemption. But it really shows you, like, how this world, that you're never too far gone. And I like that this movie kind of kept that theme. And obviously forgiveness and that's what Miyagi-Do means, And I really think that this is a really good sequel. Yeah, like I said, it's almost more Miyagi's movie in the sense of going to Okinawa. He gets a big bolt of the plot, which I actually think was a nice juxtaposition compared to the first one. Because obviously the first one is about Johnny, and Miyagi's the teacher. I'm not saying Miyagi's still not the teacher in this one, but I would argue plot-wise, I feel like he gets more. Daniel's only real plot is he gets with Kumiko and he wants to stop Chosen, but even then, he fights Chosen in the end, but that was more because he was forced to. It wasn't a situation where, it wasn't like when he fought Johnny in the first movie because it was a tournament, right? In this, he didn't necessarily have to fight, he didn't want to fight Chosen. Chosen kind of forced it. This is more Miyagi's story with Sato and Yuki and his father and all that element in the village. So this is more of Miyagi's movie, which I really like. And then obviously the third one's back to Johnny. Fuck! Daniel! His third one's back to Daniel. So, which I like. I like the back and forth. Daniel gets the first one, Miyagi gets this one, and then it's back to Daniel in the third one, which makes sense. So, because it's back in the valley, So, can't wait to watch Karate Kid 3, honestly. I do remember it not being as good as the other two, but I still remember it being decent. We'll see. I think I still remember it being alright. Obviously, it's still better than next Karate Kid, which we're not going to do. I'll just give a quick take on it. I'll talk about it more in the when I do Karate Kid 3, but really quick, I guess I could say just as of now, it's not good. I'll just say that. Karate Kid 3, not Karate Kid 3. The next Karate Kid is ass, and I'm going to go more into it, since I'm not going to do a whole video on it, because I'm sticking just with the main three. But, yeah, so I'll talk about it more there. But yeah, next Karate Kid is ass. But Karate Kid 3, I remember it being okay. So we'll see if it holds up. I do really love Mike Barnes and Silver. Like, those are, like, definitely the two best things about 3, for sure. And I didn't hate the idea of, not necessarily, it's not like Daniel chose the dark side. It was just like, You know, he got manipulated, and when Terry Silver, when they first introduce him, he's just like a normal karate teacher. He's not as extreme as Kreese. He's nicer to Daniel. So, and obviously, even in Cobra Kai, they go more into that where Silver is a master manipulator. They really do a good job in that show. Like obviously, he fooled Daniel in the third movie when you first see him. So to for it to happen decades later, a decade or a couple decades later in Cobra Kai, but on a bigger scale, I really thought that was well done. So you really built on already what we saw with Silver. And like I said, watching these movies from obviously now knowing how Cobra Kai ends really hits different, especially in this, even with this one with Chosen, you know, and Kumiko does come back in the Cobra Kai, and I like that they fixed Alex. I'll be honest, I didn't love how she left in I think she does come back in the third one. I don't remember, but I didn't really love how they just wrote her off in this. I get it; they couldn't get her to come back, but it's Elizabeth something. I can't Elizabeth Shue. They couldn't get Elizabeth Shue to come back, but could have did something else. Just had her, or just stick to the breakup. You didn't have to fully explain it. Just they broke up. That's it. Just you keep it vague. Anyway, Karate Kid 2, pretty good. I recommend it. I definitely, especially watch it right after the first one. I think it works, especially that opening where it picks up right where the first one ends. It's out, after the end of the fight. So, after the end of the tournament. Other than that, guys, I'm going to probably get ready to wrap it here. Working Man review tomorrow. I'm going to be watching that tomorrow. I'm also going to be watching Novocaine tomorrow, so I'll give, because I'm probably going to be reviewing Working Man pretty late, so I'll probably give my quick thoughts on Novocaine, and I'll review Novocaine on Monday. So, anyways, guys, get ready to call it here. Karate Kid 3 is pretty good. Subscribe to Pin Down Podcast, and check out our latest stream. But other than that, guys, I am gonna call and talk to y'all later.